I can do you direct on Continental, I can do you direct on United, but not on American.
Travel agents have been busy since American, Delta, and United Airlines announced the cut rate fares. The airlines put on sale seats which usually go empty. Passengers who are willing to leave Oklahoma City on Thanksgiving Day and return by noon 2 days later can save up to 85% over traditional fares. Travelers may pay as little as $58 for a round-trip flight to a city less than 500 miles away, $98 when traveling 500 to 1,500 miles, and $158 when the distance exceeds 1,500 miles. Travel experts warn that the deal looks better on paper than it does on their computer screens.
However, we've had much more inquiry than actual action when they find the details out and how difficult it is to book and the limited amount of space. Then it's difficult sometimes to actually make the booking, issue the tickets, and send the client on his way.
The budget fares carry some important restrictions. Travelers must return to Oklahoma City by noon on Saturday, November 30th. They must purchase their tickets within 3 days of reservation. There are no combination fares, and the big restriction, there are no refunds or exchanges on the budget plane tickets. However, if you can meet those requirements, you just might be able to fly home for Thanksgiving and still have some money left in your pocket. Scott Wallace, News 4 at Will Rogers World Airport.
I don't think the survey indicates that they seem worried. I think they seem, the survey, the response to it, and the direction that came out of it indicates that they are concerned and that some action does need to be taken. I don't know if worried's the correct statement.
We reside here in Oklahoma. We have to travel over these roads consistently. And during harvest, we see these people from out of state come in. I've seen as high as 140, 150,000 pound loads come into the elevators there at Enid. And there's no enforcement. I mean, even the Highway Patrol have told me, we've been called off. We can't do anything with these people.
What they did to me is sick, and I don't want to fool any of them.
Joe Jones claims 2 Oklahoma City jailers severely beat him last July after he made a remark to a city clerk. According to Jones, the jailers tore off part of his ear and ruptured his liver. His injuries required emergency surgery.
He throws me on the ground, my legs are straight and my arms are straight above my head, and he just stomped me about 3 times, just bam, 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 you know, with the heel of his boot. And right then, from that point on, I was just in so much pain that I didn't care, you know. So he just started beating my head into the walls all the way back over to the elevator.
Jones' attorney has filed a $4.5 million civil rights lawsuit against Oklahoma City. The suit alleges the city has condoned a policy of excessive force by its employees.
It's time after time after time they whitewash these things and clear officers when it's a clear excessive use of force. And by doing that, they've created an unconstitutional policy of allowing these officers to use excessive force on the citizens of the city of Oklahoma City.
A city police investigation cleared the jailers of wrongdoing in the alleged beating. A court may have the final say about whether the city has violated anybody's civil rights. Scott Wallace, News 4.
The sun is up now and rescue teams are flying back into the valley that's been devastated by the mud flow. They're bringing food, medicine, and clothing in and taking the injured out. The mud flow, tons of ash and debris, has covered the town of Armero in rural coffee-growing country. Dazed survivors staggered through chest-high mud. There were bodies everywhere. The death toll will be in the thousands. The mountain exploded without warning. Panicked survivors ran to rescue helicopters, but only the most seriously injured were taken out. The others stayed behind in the horror. Many were naked, their clothes ripped away by the force of the river of mud. The buried villages are cut off from the rest of Colombia. Roads and bridges are gone. The government has declared a 70-square-mile disaster zone. Geologists warn that the volcano is still in an explosive state. The U.S. military is bringing in helicopters this morning to assist in the enormous, almost overwhelming rescue effort. The volcano shot a plume of ash 26,000 feet in the air. The ash fall was detected as far away as Venezuela. Dennis Murphy, NBC News, Bogota.
Paul Sanders is one of 4,000 probationers and prisoners whose urine is examined each month. The State Corrections Department does the screening to find out if the people in its custody are abusing drugs. The Corrections Department uses 6 laboratories for drug scanning. This test today is for PCP. The sophisticated equipment can also detect if an inmate has been using marijuana, cocaine, amphetamines, or other controlled drugs. If evidence of drug use is found, a probationer could be sent to prison, or an inmate could have his good time credits toward early release taken away. That urine drug testing is being challenged by some inmates here at this minimum security prison near Boley. The inmates say they're being punished based on a test which they claim is not always reliable.
They're not 100% accurate, yet DOC bases the 100% of their disciplinary action on what they say. And they prove, if I'm a little bit over the cutoff, that I'm guilty. I'd like a chance to prove that I'm not.
Michael, the Corrections Department says that prisoners can have these tests done independently if they're willing to pay for it. How come prisoners aren't willing to pay for it?
On my job, I make $9 a month. They take 20% of that, put it in savings. So actually, what I get is $7.20.
Corrections officials admit their single drug test is not perfect. However, they say the check is conclusive enough to use to punish prisoners.
We feel quite sure that the method that we use at this point in time is sufficient to establish that a violation has occurred for the population of individuals that we're dealing with.
An Oklahoma County court will decide if the current drug testing procedure is legal. Scott Wallace, News 4. First impressions are important. This volunteer knows that. She wants Oklahoma City visitors to see a clean city.
I feel like I'm helping. No, to me, my satisfaction to me is trying to help clean up. I mean, it makes me feel good that I can do this.
16 state prisoners pitched in to help pick up litter along South Meridian. The busy street is often the first thing Oklahoma City visitors see.
We took this on as a project to clean up Meridian from airport property north to Reno. We feel like this is one of the most important projects, stretches of road where visitors coming in, going out of Oklahoma City, and it leaves either a good or bad impression. We want to make it a good impression.
The prison volunteers also want to make a good impression. The inmates hope some Oklahoma City businessmen will notice their efforts and offer them jobs. Scott Wallace, News 4, Southwest Oklahoma City.
Pari-Mutuel is in this state. But yet there's no place for these people. The Oklahoma horse industry, yes, they're trying to draw from the New York market, from the California market, and the prestige horses throughout the country into the state. We would like to have those kind of horses into the state, but they would not come within 2, 3, 4, 5 years anyway, no matter what kind of facility they built. And one major track as such, without any feasibility study from the Racing Commission, is kind of ridiculous.
7:19. What airline? Eastern. Spent 10 days. 10. And all indications that I'm given by the physicians are that I'm completely over whatever it is that beset me, and that there are no limitations. I lost the Dawson for governor campaign, replete with slingshot brigades. I then
Oklahoma City's Dome Stadium is still a priority with chamber leaders and the mayor's office. It would house Major League athletics like baseball, football, and basketball. It would also be a major factor in attracting the National Finals Rodeo back to Oklahoma City. The Dome Stadium will be located here at the north end of the state fairgrounds. But how will it all happen? Today, members of the chamber and the Mayor's Advisory Council were discussing ways of funding the project. The cost of the stadium has been scaled down from $100 million to $75 million. According to chamber officials, the majority of the money would have to come from the public. But they say to become a major league city, the facility has to be in place to entice major league owners. And they believe Oklahoma City is ready.
I think we've prepared enough information for this committee to make a viable recommendation to the City Council that the Dome Stadium be constructed. And the information that's prepared is all positive, and I think it's something that they can work through on a worthwhile manner as far as the council is concerned, so that the council can then go to the public and the people and ask them, in fact, if they really want a stadium in Oklahoma City.
But what will a Dome Stadium at the fairgrounds mean for you, the taxpayer? Well, according to chamber officials, it will mean more than enjoying professional sports in Oklahoma City. It could mean extra revenue for this town, up to $100 million a year. And they say everyone will benefit from that. Kevin Ogle, News 4 at the State Fairgrounds.
Crazy about kittens? Then there's something just for you at the fairgrounds this weekend. It's a cat show sponsored by the Oklahoma City Cat Club. So bring the whole family and come admire the tabbies and tomcats all day this Saturday and Sunday. If bigger animals are more your speed, you'll love the 1985 World Championship Quarter Horse Show. It's wrapping up tomorrow with the presentation of the Copenhagen Skull Super Horse Award. So scurry on down tonight or tomorrow for championship finals. You don't see designs like these often. The Oklahoma Museum of Art is hosting the world-famous Memphis Exhibit. These innovative structures will be on display now through December 29th. And speaking of innovative, be sure to take the little ones to Puff's Magic Tale. It's Stage Center's latest hit, an original musical for children. Runs every Saturday and Sunday at 2 through December 8th. It's Four's Family Fun Pick of the Week.
Can't be doing no slow dancing way.
Another treat for the whole family is the annual James Brooks Jubilee, a full day of country western fun. Special entertainment this year features the McCain Brothers. So head on down to the Grady County Fairgrounds in Chickasha tomorrow. All proceeds benefit the Jane Brooks School for the Deaf. Backed by popular demand, more Impressionism. The Oklahoma Arts Center is displaying American Impressionist works from the famous Phillips Collection now through December 20th. If you love Ravel and Tchaikovsky, you'll love the Oklahoma Symphony's next concert. They'll be featuring those favorite composers this Sunday at 3 and Tuesday at 8:15 at the Civic Center. Finally, for more beautiful music, the Oklahoma Opera and Musical Theater Company is performing The Crucible tonight and tomorrow at 8:15 and Sunday at 7 in OCU's Kirkpatrick Auditorium.
We just completed phase 1 of the complex at an expense of about $1.6 million, and part of the proceeds coming from the festival will go to build the main sanctuary, the new church.
President of Hitachi Limited, Tokyo, Japan. I'm very pleased to announce that this project is being initiated in this year of the 70th
Hitachi's new investment in Oklahoma. Mr. Mita, we have a very American custom that is not found in other places of the world called Thanksgiving. Although other cultures and other countries celebrate their thankfulness in various ways, our country has a very special holiday called Thanksgiving, and you have just given us an even better reason as Oklahomans to be thankful for this season.
Director of SIMS at the University of Oklahoma. He did pretty well Saturday. April of Japanese Pedontan Federation. That's an organization of the major industrial companies of Japan.
It had taken the jury less than an hour to convict Rex Moore of killing his wife Tammy. It took considerably longer for them to decide his punishment. District Attorney Bob Macy asked the jury for the death penalty, saying by pouring gasoline on his wife and setting her on fire, Moore had committed a horrible crime and deserved to die. But defense attorney Robert Turner told the jury Rex Moore is not a threat to society, that he had no previous criminal record, and that the Moore children would also suffer from a death sentence. 3 hours later, the jury decided to give Moore life in prison. As throughout the trial, Moore showed little emotion at the verdict as he was taken from the courtroom for the last time. And both prosecutors and the victim's family seemed satisfied with the jury's decision.
We are relieved it is over, and there isn't a whole lot more that can be done at this time. We're just ready to go home and put our life back together again.
I personally feel that the crime was so heinous that death penalty was the only just penalty, but in some ways it's academic because Rex Moore will die in prison anyway.
Moore is now 58 years old. He must serve at least 15 years of his sentence, meaning the earliest he could get out of prison is at age 73. Jeff Fowler, News 4 at the Oklahoma County Courthouse.
And bought the land from. In addition, we pay attorney's fees, court costs, all kinds of stuff. And so we own about 60 or to 70% of the land already.
And you need to...
We're able to save that money out of this refunding process because it's a favorable time to refinance bonds that will actually generate $7 million in cash.
And that saves the public money.
That's right, because that money has to come from someplace to continue to operate the water system.
Time do they have to begin with
begin the remodeling. And 33rd were deferred for 3 weeks. That would give them their 15 days in which to begin reconstruction. That would not eliminate.
All right. Motion second to these items, and I guess there are 2 of them.
Number 5 and number 12. And
All right.
again, I'd state that
Witnesses have advised us so far that they heard gunshots coming from the residence and also observed a black male chase a black female from the residence into the yard next door, where he shot her and then fled on foot south from the scene. In his hand.
A lot has changed since 1910, both inside and out. This was the beginning for what is now known as Presbyterian Hospital. It opened as Wesley Hospital back in 1910. 9 years later, 6 World War I veteran physicians formed Oklahoma's first group practice and bought the hospital. And this is what it's become. Today's celebration marks the 75th birthday for Presbyterian Hospital. It was a time of reunion for physicians and staff members and their families. Some have worked with the hospital from the very beginning, and most have witnessed vast changes.
The patients today go home earlier. She helps the patient get ready to go home, teaches the family, refers them to community agencies. Those are the big changes, but the basic nursing care, the caring individual being a nurse, that has not changed.
Presbyterian Hospital spent the day looking at the past and the ground that it's covered in the last 75 years, and there's been a lot of it. This hospital was recently purchased by Hospital Corporation of America, which owns 14 other hospitals in the state of Oklahoma. Presbyterian says that purchase promises an even brighter future. Terry Cook, News 4.
Normally, the disaster funds that normally come from the American Red Cross can cover all our disasters. The American people have helped the African campaign and the earthquakes, and now it's time to help the United States.
Most everyone in this room is at least 60 years old, a group of senior citizens determined to make their needs known. They're part of Oklahoma's Silver Haired Legislature. The needs of the elderly are many, and in the past few years they've gathered like this and made themselves into a powerful political lobby. When it comes to getting a politician's attention, older Oklahomans are not retiring.
I think it would be fair to underscore today that no group in this state that sponsors a mock legislative session has had more effect on the final passage of real legislation than the Silver Haired Legislature.
Many legislative programs endorsed by older Oklahomans concern economics. As Social Security dwindles, health costs go up. The price of energy forces some to choose between heat and food for the table. But before these problems get better, younger Americans must change their attitudes towards the elderly.
Because we are the life of the country, and we are the backbone of America.
I think a lot of the attitude toward older Americans is more or less what the older person expects. If you go out with a chip on your shoulder, you know, you're going to get it knocked off.
As these people talk about their concerns, they're drafting a list of legislative priorities. They'll present that list to the Oklahoma legislature. As one person said, we're not fighting just for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone who lives to be old. Kent Boyd, News 4.
The Farmers and Merchants National Bank of Hennessey was officially closed by the Comptroller of the Currency at 3 p.m. today. And with the efficiency that comes through plenty of experience, the staff of the FDIC office in Oklahoma City moved right in. A spokesman said the bank had a high degree of losses because of the quality of its loans. The management couldn't remedy the situation, and the end came today. What's more, the FDIC couldn't find a buyer.
And we invite bankers and groups of holding companies and businessmen to come in who meet our requirements and to bid on a failed bank. And they look at it and put it to paper and see if it's a good business decision for them. And obviously for the people who were at the bid meeting, it was not a good business decision.
Vela says it's highly likely another bank won't operate here, leaving the area with one other bank and a savings and loan. It also means 16 bank workers like Diana Miller will be looking for other jobs.
I have some regrets about it, but I'm well aware of the fact, and hopefully I will find another job.
The word spread quickly in Hennessey. F&M had 4,000 accounts, 30% of them in agriculture, and assets of about $27 million. All but $172,000 in 20 accounts is insured. But even those whose money was safe were concerned.
I'm shocked, really shocked.
Long time ago, we've been hearing that bank's going to go under. But it sure happened, didn't it?
Insured depositors' checks to open accounts at other banks will be issued starting Monday, and more will be explained at a town meeting at Old Hennessey Auditorium, 6 p.m. Saturday. There is almost a matter-of-fact routine to a bank's closing, but of course it is a serious, serious business, and it is a scene likely to be repeated again and again. George Tomic, News 4 at the closed Farmers and Merchants National Bank in Hennessey.
And I'll say that within a year and a half to 2 years, the Oklahoma City Air Logistics.
This is the obligatory reporter shot.
Yeah, how long have you been waiting?
Then with the Congress. You see, the Organization of Joint Chiefs of Staff.
I wonder about that.
Well, it depends on where I'm going. Suffer a loss of that magnitude and put us out of business in the engine repair business really had an impact to our national defense. So the most vital thing we had to do was to regroup, relocate, and get back into production, which we did in 2 weeks. And you're right, that's probably one of the, that'll be something I'll remember the rest of my life.
We need to get them on record, basically. The enemy's very sophisticated legislation. I was just incredulous. It reminded me of the Dred Scott decision back in the 1850s where the United States Supreme Court ruled that black people were not human beings and were not afforded the rights of human beings. And this is basically what they did in Minnesota. They said that an 8.5-month-old baby that was in utero was not a human being, and that just absolutely flies in the face of logic, I believe.